if we were to come in and make a preferred equity investment, we would come in and actually bring capital that goes towards that $25,000 that the lender's requiring.
Welcome to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about creating more time freedom through passive real estate investing. Passive investing in real estate challenges conventional investment wisdom. We are passionate about learning and sharing resources with others who are ready to transform their investing mindset. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer, ADP. I'm glad you're here. Now let's dig in. All right, welcome back, Freedom Point Podcast listeners. Thank you again for jumping into another episode of the Freedom Point. I'm so glad you're here with us today. Again, really appreciate those listeners that have been giving us a regular follow. Please, if you haven't done so already, we would love to hear from you. A great way to do that would obviously be to like the content on whichever podcast platform you happen to listen to or follow us, and would love to have a rating and review as well. I do have a wonderful guest with me today. We have Allie Nichols. Allie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining. A little bit of background on Allie. Allie is the CEO and co-founder of Getaway. Allie helps individual real estate investors scale from 1 unit or door to 20 plus units or door through their co-investment model, which allows investors, allows investors to bring in just 5% of the equity or down payment versus the traditional 20 to 30%. I'm very interested in learning more about this, Allie, because I personally, had a past in, acquiring single family home assets, and we typically have to bring anywhere from, 20% to sometimes up to 100% of the cash to the table in order to win, those deals and opportunities. Yeah. So thankful you're here with us today. Why don't you help kind of unpack a little bit more about, what you're currently focused on?
Yeah, so you did a great job of explaining it there, but really we set out our mission to build Getaway to really focus on helping individual investors build up their portfolio. We, heard it time and time again from customers and investors that their goal was, by time I'm 50, 55, I want to own a portfolio big enough to replace my W-2 income, or to be my retirement fund, or to be, the nest egg I can hand off to my children and the next generation. And so my co-founder and I were obsessed with this idea of how can we help people get there faster? Because as an individual, especially when it comes to financing, once you do, property 1, 2, 3, you start to graduate. I always say you graduate outside of the conventional financing world, and you're starting to look at more investor-focused products, commercial type products. And what we found was nobody was really supporting the individual investor like you do, a corporation or a larger scale asset firm. So we tried to take some of the concepts from the commercial real estate space and apply it to individuals growing their portfolios. So exactly what you said, we help people scale through a capital efficiency play where we'll actually come in and co-invest and bring part of the equity into each of our investors' deals. From a technical term, we're investing preferred equity into each deal. But what that looks like for the end customer is less money down, as little as putting in 5% equity at acquisition to really start to build a buy and hold investment, rental, residential focused portfolio.
So let me understand something, Allie, and thank you for that background. Getaway is primarily focused on finding 2 types of investors. You're focused on finding active investors that are interested in scaling up their portfolio, whether that be single family or maybe small multifamily opportunities. In addition to that, you're looking for more passive investors that want to partner with Getaway and they want to infuse capital into some of these projects. Am I hearing that correctly?
really interesting you bring that up. So we are primarily focused right now on what we call the demand side, which is the investor looking to acquire and scale their own residential rental portfolio. That's where our primary focus is. On the back end and kind of flip side to your point that you bring up on the capital side, we actually have some relationships with debt providers that allow us to be able to, scale this and continue to grow and provide these investments. Over time, we are exploring how could we open that up to, other investors who would want to come in and participate exactly like you're saying. But currently we don't offer that. It's something that's on our roadmap for the future.
Do you guys have a way that you can help that investor that, I don't know, maybe they're in their 20s or 30s and they're looking to get, into real estate, they've got discretionary time on their
Yes.
side where they want to get into actively managing properties. Most of our investors, in full disclosure, they're mostly passive, right? They've
Yep.
got kids and they've got a life and they've got
Totally.
activities. But some of those, younger folks that are out there that maybe want to, roll up their sleeves and they're willing to swing hammers on weekends, how can Getaway help that type of investor?
Yeah. So we provide, we're really focused in the entire end to end idea of finding an investment, then figuring out how to, finance it, go through the transaction management, through the ongoing management. So for us, one of our primary focuses and where we've spent a lot of time and energy and resources is building out technology to be able to source and find opportunities. And so as an investor, a real estate investor looking to either get into the space or expand into maybe areas they're not as familiar with, you can actually rely on Getaway in terms of helping find opportunities through our products and tooling that fit your investment criteria, your investment strategy. So first and foremost, like we really provide a ton of resources in the sourcing of your next deal. And, oversight and guidance too, because we have that, in our opinion, like expertly underwritten. So providing more guidance into how should you be thinking about expenses and so forth. Um, and then in terms of the actual, like quote unquote sweat equity of folks that are wanting to invest into deals, like that's totally an opportunity within our platform. But we are definitely more focused on, I would say buy and hold type properties. I always joke like more turnkey light. So if you're looking for like a full rehab, you want to get into the fix and flip space, there's probably better products out there than what we have to offer. We're very much like, how do we find opportunities that are in decent shape? We could go in, do some light cosmetic updates, paint, carpet, appliances, you know, items like that, but then get them with long-term renters, and really thinking about holding the property for 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you explain for our listening audience the concept of preferred equity and
Yeah.
further how it plays a crucial role in reducing the down payment that would be required in order for somebody to get started in real estate investing from a single family or small multifamily perspective?
Yeah, of course. So preferred equity is an investment into the equity, so the down payment portion of the deal. So if we were looking at $100,000 property, just as an example, um, and you were to go out and buy that property on your own today for an investment buy and hold, the majority of lenders, mortgage lenders, more traditional space would say, okay, we can give you 75% LTV, loan to value, of that 100K. So we'll give you $75,000, but you need to come up with the $25,000 in cash to close on this deal. So working with Getaway, if we were to come in and make a preferred equity investment, we would come in and actually bring capital that goes towards that $25,000 that the lender is requiring. So let's say Getaway came in and brought $20,000 of that. So now you're just needing to bring five. How that would be structured is what's called preferred equity. So we're coming into the equity or down payment portion of the deal. But why it's called preferred is in an instance where we are selling the property. The way that the capital stack works is the lender, the person that provided the 75%, the mortgage, would get paid back first. Your preferred equity holder, which would be Getaway in this instance, gets paid back second, and then you as the investor, gets paid back third. And but the nice thing about the structure that we do is we're only getting paid back the amount that we put into the deal. So we actually don't take in the equity upside. So say the property, we bought the property for 100K, but now it's worth 150,000. You're keeping, as one of our customers, you're keeping that $50,000 of equity buildup or appreciation. So that's definitely a huge benefit to working with us.
Yeah, that makes sense. What does that preferred equity percentage typically look like? I'm sure it probably varies on a deal by deal basis, but is that pref equity that sits directly behind the senior debt in the capital stack, is that typically 8 to 10%, something like in that range?
In terms of a portion of the deal or in terms of cost?
In terms of the cost, yeah.
Yeah, so it really varies at a deal level, market bar, like investor profile. Um, so it can range. Yeah, I would say it's closer to like 10 to 17%, depending on the dynamics. That's also, it's January of 2024, where interest rates are higher than they've, been the last few years. So that also does fluctuate with the market and where, the 5 year and 10 year treasury.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not holding you to an answer on that, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear maybe about a particular, success story that, Getaway has had, with an investor where you guys have played, where you've had really an impact, on the
Yeah.
life of someone else, right? And how partnering with Getaway could be a pivotal transaction in any investor's real estate journey.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many to hone in on. So one of our customers, is in that earlier stage of their investing career. They're in their late 20s. Their goal, again, is to build a very solid rental portfolio over the next 20 years. And they had set out on a mission of, I'm going to try and buy one property per year. Truly for the next 20 years.
Mhm.
And after connecting with Getaway, we've actually been able to help that customer already do three in the last 6 months. And so we're just, if you think about that, now we've reduced their time to reach their goal by over 60%. So it's been really cool to see, and continuing to grow with them. They're always like, hey, when can we do our next deal? When can we do our next deal? And those properties too have been super successful, leased up within 45 days of closing, are cash flowing, are meeting our underwriting expectations. So it's just really like exactly what you'd want to see as you're scaling your portfolio. It was fun too. Even the second property, it's like we had it under contract at like, I believe it's like 190K, and the appraisal came back at 230, which is like always a fun, exciting day as well, because it's like, oh look, you already have instant equity in this home, to help you even scale further.
Yeah, that's great. I've always kind of, joked with my investors that the fix and flip business and the single family home rental business is a young man's game.
Yeah,
What would you
because it
say?
takes time. It takes
Yeah,
time for these properties to appreciate. It's like if you're looking for a short-term game, I'm excluding, we don't play in the fix and flip space, so I won't speak to that. But if you're looking for a short-term gain, like buying rental properties, specifically small multifamily in the Midwest, is probably not the right move. But if you're looking at this on a 20-year horizon and you're looking for cash flow over time, and you're willing to build up, and get to, build up a portfolio, over the next couple of years, in 20 years, I never hear anyone say, "Oh, I wish I didn't buy that place,"
No.
over a long period of time.
Yeah, it's true. Other than the fact that it took a considerable amount of my time away from the things that I should have been focused on, I always regretted selling homes. I should have kept them forever.
Yeah.
So,
No,
no,
isn't
that's,
that funny? It's like everybody's like, "Oh, I sold that for 150K. Now it's worth 450." It's like, "Oh,
yeah.
wow." Like just hold on if you can.
That's right. That's right. Well, what's maybe a challenge or two, that you've maybe faced, Getaway has faced, maybe what are some of the headwinds that you see, on the horizon, those types of things.
Yeah, I think generally real estate right now is in a tough position. Like we mentioned earlier, interest rates, we've seen, a huge increase over a short period of time that has really kind of shocked the system when it comes to the entire market. So for us, it's definitely, you know, making sure that we're putting out a good product that makes sense, that can grow during quote unquote like a downturn period. Um, I think because we've seen so much volatility in the market, you're seeing a lot of tightening up on the lending side of the business. The capital markets um, are hesitant, and so for us, we work really closely with lending partners, and a lot of their requirements are kind of shifting under our feet. So I know if we feel that, the investors feel it too, and so we're really trying to just be an advocate and stay on top of the trends. Where are things going? Where do we think we need to play to make sure that we can consistently offer a solid product that helps our customers do more deals. So those are definitely the headwinds that we're facing just this moment in time, but I also think it provides a huge opportunity. What we're seeing is there's definitely less competition. We're winning a lot of deals well under ask, being patient and disciplined too in terms of offer prices and things like that. And a lot of times we'll have lots of conversations with our customers, investors, um, around, if this deal is, cash flow break even today, if you have the outlook that over the next 3 to 5 years, rates will come down to, the 30-year average, then all of a sudden this deal becomes like a cash flowing gold mine because there's opportunity. Your financing costs will decrease over time. We assume rents will increase. And so if you can hold on and that's part of your strategy, like there's a ton of opportunity out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree that there's opportunities really at all, stages of the economic cycle. It just comes down to, how those deals are being, underwritten and really
Yeah, it's all
the
about the
person
acquisition.
that's managing, the asset, right? The person that's in that seat, that's pulling all the levers. So, looking ahead, Allie, what's one or two things that excite you and Getaway in terms of what the future is looking like?
Yeah, we're really excited. We're looking at ways that we can expand our offering and help more investors. And I think one area that we're really excited about exploring is actually helping investors with smaller deals. Right now, if you're looking to acquire a property, um, there's tons of options, as you get into higher price points when it comes to financing. But as you're looking at lower cost markets, um, the options from a financing front are limited to non-existent. So we actually see a huge opportunity there. So we're excited to be exploring some ideas and products that hopefully will go live Q1 of this year, that could help investors play in the sub 100K space.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. What What's next on Getaway's bucket list, or maybe just you personally? What are you thinking about checking
Yeah.
off your to-do list in 2024?
Oh, it's a great question. I'm personally, my husband and I have made a pact with each other that we will be acquiring. Our goal is 10 deals this year. So it's January, mid-January, so I have 11 and a half months to go. But that's our personal goal. Um, it's like being in this role is what I do all day long, so I should be able to do it. But that's what I'm looking forward to on my own personal checklist.
That's great. Well, those that are listening to this that are interested in investing in single family homes and kind of scaling up, a single family home or small multi, portfolio, is there a book or a podcast recommendation that you'd give to maybe my listening audience where they can start to become educated more on the strategy?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, I would send them to getaway.co first, but no. I think, you know, you have to shift through a lot of things on there. So I put this with a big caveat, but I do think that the Bigger Pockets community puts out a lot of interesting content when it comes to um, like small multifamily specifically and SFR investing. Um, and some of their YouTube channels, the content is super helpful, especially for someone that is at the beginning of their journey. So I would probably direct you there to start. Um, but again, if you ever want to talk to anybody about getting started or what that could look like or where to look, like please do come to getaway.co and talk with one of our team members because we can be super helpful.
That's great. Well, this is a great time for me to ask you then, what would be one or two different ways that our listening audience can connect with you to learn more about, what you're up to and specifically what Getaway's involved with?
Yeah, definitely. Best way to get a hold of me is definitely through LinkedIn. So it's just Allie Nichols. Type in Allie Nichols Getaway, you will find me. And then, like I said, again, check us out at getaway.co, just .co.
That's great. Well, Allie, I really appreciate your time and thank you for being on the show with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is great.
Absolutely. And listening audience, thank you again for jumping into another episode of The Freedom Point. We look forward to having you join us on the next episode.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the Freedom Point podcast, powered by Starting Point Capital. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the Freedom Point podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. If you're interested in connecting, you can find contact information at startingpointcapital.com.